How's it going, peeps? It is now time for the Raw results slash highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and then give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with Triple H addressing what happened last night at Battleground, where John Cena retained the championship, and he mocks the internet wrestling community by complaining like them, or pretending to complain like them, where he's like, you know, people are questioning, what am I gonna do today after what happened at Battleground? Everybody backstage is like walking on eggshells. They wouldn't look me in the eyes, afraid of what I'd do if I'd fire them or whatever. And he's like, you know what I should do? I should, express my rage with a tweet, or even make an Instagram, or, rage on Vine or something like that. Or hey, how about I just don't watch at all? Because, online all the time you get people saying, hey, you know what, I'm not going to watch, and then they're watching the next week. Or they keep on watching every single time, but they keep complaining, But anyways, he then says, or I could just relax. And pretty much he says that, he's going to pick, somebody to face off against John Cena tonight. And he doesn't mind if he has to wait until Summerslam for John Cena to no longer be the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. And he guarantees that at SummerSlam, John Cena will no longer be the champion. Now he says, the question is, though, who is going to challenge Cena for the championship? And then right away, Randy's music hits, and he obviously wants to be that person to take on Cena at SummerSlam. And he says if it weren't for Kane last night in the Fatal 4-Way, he'd be standing here as the champion. And then Kane comes out too, and he says he's tired of being Randy's protector, and if he wasn't, in that match to protect Randy, he also would have been champion right now, and he wants to be the one to face off against Cena. And then Reigns' music hits, he comes out, and Reigns says that nobody wants to see Cena versus Kane, and nobody wants to see Cena versus Randy again. And then he says, it seems like everybody wants to see John Cena versus Roman Reigns. And then he gets in the ring because he was on the apron before. And then he says, believe that. And then he hits the Superman punch on Kane. And then right away, Triple H gets out of the ring. And Randy also gets out of the ring. And Triple H then tells Reigns that he believes Roman Reigns is going to be in the match right now against Randy and Kane. It is a handicap match. Now, as expected, there was some miscommunication in the match between Randy and Kane because of what happened at, in the Fatal 4-Way match. Basically, in the end, Kane was a legal man, and he was trying to tag in Randy. Randy didn't want any part of it. He didn't want to tag in. So Kane decides to grab Randy by the throat while Randy's on the apron. So he has his back turned to Reigns, and then he turns around, and Reigns hits him with the Superman punch, and then he falls head up with his spear for the 3 counts and wins the match. Randy then just walks away, and then he pretends like he's about to go in the ring to fight Reigns, but of course, backs away. And then backstage, we see Eva Marie, Alicia Fox, Cameron, and Rosa Mendez, and Stephanie Mcmahon comes up to them, hyping them up for their match, their 4-on-1 handicap match against Nikki Bella. And then the match happens right after, and we see Brie Bella in the front row when Nikki Bella goes to hug her, and then Stephanie McMahon comes out. She calls Brie Bella a quitter, she makes fun of her, and she goes over how this is all Brie Bella's fault for leaving her by quitting. And then Stephanie tells Brie, you're gonna get to watch, your sister gets destroyed by, 4 other divas. And then when she goes to leave, Brie Bella calls her a bitch. Stephanie gets mad. Stephanie eventually slaps Brie, and then Brie tries to, get her hands on Stephanie, but Stephanie tells security to escort Brie out of the arena. And then as far as the match goes, it was real short. It was like less than a minute. They all start attacking Nikki, and they stomp on her. And then Alicia Fox tells them to pick her up. And once they do, she hits her with the scissors kick, covers her, and wins the match. So basically it was like a couple stomps and one finisher. That's it for the match. And it didn't tag in or anything. They were in the ring at the same time. Following that, it was Bo Dallas versus Damien Sandow. Damien Sandow this time came out dressed as LeBron James. And he had a Miami Heat jersey, but instead he crossed out the Heat, or Miami, and he wrote Cleveland on it. And basically he was making fun of the crowd, because LeBron left Miami Heat and went to Cleveland. So anyways, what's interesting with this match is Bo Dallas was the one to wrestle like a face. So I'm not sure if he's a face now, or if it's just for this match. But Damien Sandow was the one wrestling more like a heel in the match. And when he, when Damien Sandow went for his elbow of disdain before doing it, he yelled out, "Cleveland, I'm coming home," and then he hit the elbow drop. Personally, I thought that was really funny. Anyways, in the end, Bo Dallas hits the Bodog, gets the win, and now he's like 16-0 or something like that. Afterwards, it was supposed to be the highlight reel with special guest Bray Wyatt, but instead Bray Wyatt ended up being the host because on the WWE app, they went in Jericho's locker room, and the Wyatt family attacked Jericho. They took him out. He hit Sister Abigail on like the wall. And then afterwards, Bray Wyatt kind of hosted the highlight reel, welcoming the people to the highlight reel. And then he showed why Jericho isn't there by showing the video of him attacking Jericho. And then he says, "See, Jericho's not here for you. I've always been here for you." Anyways, gets a promo on, you know, despite Jericho winning the battle last night, you know, that's not important to him because what is important is winning the war. And in the end, he says, Sister Abigail always told him not to look for revenge, because he would have to bring 2 caskets, one for Jericho, I guess, and one for him. But then he says, unfortunately for Jericho, he'll only need 1 casket because he is forever. And then he says, follow the buzzards, and that's it for the promo. And then backstage, they showed Jericho, he was down, and, you know, medics were checking on him, and he was bleeding from the ear, and R-Truth pointed that out, although we could see it, and I was wondering, like, was this like a rib or something like that? Because a couple weeks ago, Jericho, for like no reason or out of nowhere, he was just bleeding from the ear in a match against, I think, The Miz. And I don't know if they did that on purpose just to, you know, make fun of that. But anyways, after that, we see Flo Rida backstage. He's arrived at the arena. And then we get a match between The Miz and Dolph Ziggler. And it was a great match. It was seriously a really good match. And the ending sequence, Dolph hit the zigzag, not the zigzag, the Faymaster, The Miz kicked out. Actually, before the Faymaster, The Miz locked in the figure 4, and Ziggler was really selling the figure 4. He was selling it really good, and eventually got to the ropes, so that's when, you know, they had to break it. They did a couple roll-ups, and then, like I said, the Faymaster, which The Miz kicked out of. And then Ziggler tries to go for the zigzag, but The Miz hangs on to the ropes, and then The Miz hits a big boot on Ziggler. And then he tries to follow it up with the skull-crushing finale, but Ziggler rolls out of it, or actually he throws The Miz off of him, and then he goes for a super kick on The Miz. The Miz right away grabs his face and turns around so he doesn't get kicked in the face, and since he has his back turned, Ziggler follows it up with the zigzag, covers him, and wins the match. It was an on-title match. And after the match, The Miz grabs the championship, or actually tells Justin Roberts to grab the championship for him and give it to him. And then he tells Justin Roberts to also announce him as still, you know, the Intercontinental Champion, The Miz, so Justin Roberts does that. And the crowd boos. And that's it for that. And then we see Triple H talking with somebody backstage. He's telling them that he doesn't think they need to get a match with John Cena at SummerSlam. And then we see that it's Rollins. He tells him, you know, you've got the Money in the Bank briefcase. With that, you get a title shot at any time, anywhere, whenever you want, so there's no need for him to take on John Cena at SummerSlam. And Seth Rollins says, you know, it's that, but at the same time, you know, he's got Ambrose who keeps freaking, you know, stopping him from cashing in the briefcase, and he tells Triple H they need to take care of Ambrose and take care of him for good. And then Cesaro appears, and he tells Triple H that he would like to face John Cena at SummerSlam, and that whenever he puts him in a championship match, he calls himself a walking Money in the Bank contract, because whenever he puts him in a championship match, he gets the job done. And then he tells Triple H he's made a business decision, and that decision is that he's no longer a Paul Heyman guy, and instead, he wants to be... Oh, and by the way, when he said that, the crowd actually booed. I'm not sure if they booed at the name of Paul Heyman, or at the fact that Cesaro's no longer a Paul Heyman guy. So anyways, he then tells Triple H, instead, he wants to be... you know, your guy. He points to Triple H, telling him, you know, I want to be your guy, like, you know, Triple H guy. And then Rollins kind of, you know, he doesn't really like that. But anyways, Triple H tells Cesaro that if he can take care of Ambrose tonight, then that will really impress him. So then Cesaro tells him he can consider it done. And then after that, it was a tag team match, Paige and AJ teaming up against Emma and Natalya. And throughout the match, there were no problems between AJ and Paige. They were acting friendly. But in the end, once AJ gets the win via the Black Widow on Natalya and makes her tap out, after the match, Paige grabs AJ by the hair when she has her back turned, and she slams her like back of the head first onto the mat, and then she starts punching her. She then gets her to the outside, throws her on the barricade, throws her on the steel post, and then throws her over the announcer's table, all while screaming at AJ, "I told you this was my house." And then she mocks AJ by skipping up the ramp. And then after that, we get Fandango versus Zack Ryder, and Zack Ryder comes out with Summer Rae and Layla, and right when I saw that, when he came out with Layla and Summer Rae, I was like, oh, could this be? Could this be Zack Ryder's first win in I don't know how long? Because for the past couple of weeks, or maybe just 1 week, where Dolph came out with Layla and Summer Rae, he got the win, over Fandango. So I was like, oh, Ryder actually might win this match. And he did. He hit the Rough Rider on Fandango, and when he went for the pin, Fandango got his foot on the bottom rope. Referee didn't see it, and just to make sure, Layla pushed Fandango's foot off the bottom rope, so Ryder got the win. And then backstage, we see Flo Ryder getting interviewed by Renee Young. He's excited to be there, and then Heath Slater interrupts, and he tells Flo Ryder, hey, do you remember me? And then Flo Ryder is like, no, and he's like, WrestleMania 28, you put your hands on me, so I'm here to, get payback. So then Slater pushes him, and then Flo Ryder pushes Heath Slater, and with that one push, she knocks Slater out. I'm like, damn, if he can knock people out with just, one push, he should be competing in the ring or something like that, to be the next champ. Anyways, so, afterwards, he performed, and after that, and Stephanie Mcmahon was the one to introduce Flo Ryder. So after he performs, the camera goes to the commentators, and they talk for a bit, but then JBL is like looking at one direction, so then the camera goes to where JBL is looking, and it's like a few officers talking to Stephanie, and they're asking her if she did slap Brie Bella earlier, and they got reports of it, and the crowd is cheering, and they're basically asking her yes or no, and she's like, going around the question saying, Brie Bella slapped me first. And he's like, are you admitting to slapping Brie Bella? And she's like, yeah, but, she slapped you first in that ring. And then they put her in handcuffs, and they go to the parking lot where they put her in the car. And Triple H is like, are you guys real officers? And they show their badge, and then he makes fun of their cars, like, he's like, oh, is that a hybrid? And he tells Stephanie not to worry because he's right behind her. He's gonna get her out of there in like 5 minutes. And also, Brie Bella showed up when she was getting arrested, and getting put in cuffs. Anyways, afterwards, we see Triple H backstage with Joey Mercury, and he's about to leave to go check on Stephanie. And Joey Mercury asks him, what about the announcement tonight for John Cena's opponent at Summerslam? And Triple H goes on about how, it's family first before everything. And then when he's about to leave, he stops. He's like, oh, but there's the whole processing thing. She has to process beforehand. And, the lawyers are going to be there anyways. And the whole thing is going to take some time. So it says, you know what, I'm gonna make the announcement, and then right after the announcement, I'm gonna go there, keep the car on standby, and so Triple H decides to stay to make the announcement. And then after that, we get a tag team match. It's Ryback and Curtis Axel versus Kofi Kingston and Big E. And Ryback and Ryback so actually win the match when Kofi goes for a crossbody from the top turnbuckle on Ryback, and Ryback rolls through, so he gets the cover and the win, the 3 counts. And then after that, we get Big E and Kofi kind of arguing, or Big E, it looked like Big E was disappointed. It actually looked like Big E was going to turn heel at that point, so I was expecting Big E to like hit a clothesline on Kofi or something. But actually, out of nowhere, and I mean really out of nowhere, we see Xavier Woods in the ring. I'm like, did this dude just teleport or something like that? Because it was seriously out of nowhere, but he's there in a white suit, and he tells them, enough is enough. We've been doing what we were told to, and dancing all of this, it's not gonna work, it's not gonna get us anywhere, so we no longer ask, but from now on, we just take. And then Kofi and Big E, they all look at each other and nod in, like, approval. So I'm like, oh, is this maybe a new Nation of Domination? Following that, we saw Rusev versus the Great Khali, and what's funny about this match is Khali missed the big boot twice. First time around, he hits the big boot, and he kind of goes like right next to Rusev, or on top of Rusev's head, so Rusev doesn't sell it. But then the second time, he does it again, and it looked like he missed once again, but I guess this time, Rusev was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go with it, and he sold this time. And, eventually, Rusev hits the super kick while Khali was slowly getting up, and then he locks on the accolade, and Khali taps out, so Rusev beats Khali. Afterwards, they show a Goldust Stardust promo, and then we get Dean Ambrose versus Cesaro. And they have a pretty good match, where at some point it looked like Cesaro was gonna get disqualified, so I'm like, damn, is it gonna be another, disqualification in an Ambrose match? He's gonna, I guess, win by disqualification once again. But no, instead, Ambrose is the one to lose by disqualification, so Cesaro wins the match by DQ. So once again, Ambrose doesn't get, a clean win or a pinfall victory. I don't even know if he got a pinfall victory since separating from the Shield. So anyways, what was I gonna say? Yeah, he gets disqualified when Cesaro was about to get disqualified because he kept attacking Ambrose in the corner. Referee was separating him, and Cesaro kept going at Ambrose. And then Ambrose got out of it, and then he grabbed Cesaro and he threw him into the steel post like 3 times in a row. And then he grabbed the steel chair while Cesaro was still in the ring, in between the top and second turnbuckle, with his shoulder resting on the ropes. Ambrose hits him with a steel chair right on the shoulder, and then he drops the chair, puts it in the ring, and he puts another chair in the ring. Then he goes in the ring to keep on attacking Cesaro, but Cesaro rolls out the ring and gets out of the way. And after that, we see Renee Young standing in front of Triple H's office. He gets out to make the announcement on who's going to challenge Cena, and Renee tells him shouldn't he be with his wife, and then Triple H just stares at her, so she just backs away and he leaves. And then came time for the announcement. John Cena's opponent for SummerSlam. So Triple H comes out to the ring, and right away he announces the challenger for John Cena's WWE World Heavyweight Championship at SummerSlam. And then Randy's music hits, and at that point I'm like, alright, it's obvious, it's not Randy. Somebody's gonna attack Randy. I was actually thinking maybe Brock comes out, hits an F5 on Randy, and that impresses Triple H, so, he makes him the number one contender. But instead, Reigns attacks Randy, and they fight it out, and they just leave. They fight it out to the back, so then Triple H doesn't know what to do, and then we get Paul Heyman on the stage, and he tells Triple H, obviously, plan A with Randy's not going to work as long as Roman Reigns is there, and plan B with Seth Rollins, he says he likes Seth Rollins is good, but as long as Ambrose is there, that's not going to work either, because he's going to stop him whenever he tries to cash in. So then he he introduces Plan C to Triple H, and then Brock's music hits to a big pop. Brock comes out, and once they get in the ring, Triple H approves, and he shakes Paul Heyman's hand, and then shakes Brock's hand, and then Paul Heyman goes on to cut an amazing promo, hyping up the match at SummerSlam, and how Brock is going to conquer the championship run of John Cena. They go over how Cena, is a 15-time world champion, and how that's an impressive feat, something impressive enough to conquer. And then pretty much he ends the promo by saying that Brock is the next WWE Heavyweight Champion. Brock's music hits, and that is it for the show. So, highlights. Well, first off, the Miz and Dolph Ziggler match. That was a great match. With Ziggler's win, I'm thinking we're going to see some more matches out of these two. Probably a match for the championship at SummerSlam because of Dolph getting a non-title victory over the champ. And then another highlight for me was Xavier Woods, giving Big E and Kofi that proposition and, telling them we're no longer going to ask, we're just going to take. This, I'm interested in seeing what happens next now. Is Kofi going to turn heel? Is Big E going to turn heel? And Xavier Woods, is it going to be a heel faction, a heel stable? Or are they going to be faces, but more serious faces? I'm not sure. I'm thinking they're going to be heels. And if so, I'm really looking forward to it. Because especially Kofi, because Kofi's needed some sort of change for the longest period of time now. Ever since debuting back in, what was it? 2007? I think it was 8 maybe, I'm not sure. But ever since debuting, he's always been the face. It's always been the same character. The only thing that's changed was him going from having a Jamaican accent to no longer having one. So if this turns out to be a heel faction and we get Kofi as a heel, Biggie and all that, I think this is going to be really interesting. Even if they don't turn heel, which I think they will, I'm just interested in seeing where this whole stable goes. I know I've seen a bunch of people before say that they want to see a new Nation of Domination. Hey, this might be it. Also, the Paige heel turn. It's now taking, like I said in my prediction game video, it's now taking like a similar direction as the Christian and Randy feud back in 2011, where, you know, Christian lost the championship to Randy, and then he also lost a rematch, and because of that, he got frustrated, and then he turned heel on an episode of SmackDown. It's kind of taking, like I said, the same, you know, turn, where Paige lost the title, lost the rematch, and then she turns heel on an episode of Raw. And I think this feud is going to get, you know, even more interesting now with Paige as a heel. And, of course, the last segment of the show, Brock Lesnar, although I think, you know, it was obvious that Brock was going to be named as Cena's challenger at SummerSlam, I was looking forward to it the entire night. I was looking forward to Brock, you know, making his appearance. And, of course, as always, Paul Heyman cut a great promo, an amazing promo to sell the match and just hype up this feud between Brock and Cena for the championship. And also, on another note, when is Ambrose going to get a win? And I'm not talking about a DQ or count-out victory here. Like I said, it just seems like he hasn't gotten a win ever since Seth Rollins turned heel and Ambrose started wearing the tank top instead of the Shield gear. It was another disqualification. I mean, it was a win. No, actually, no. It was a loss. It was a win for Cesaro by DQ. Yeah, I'm wondering when Ambrose gets that win. I think maybe he might have gotten a win on Main Event or something like that. But on Raw or SmackDown, I don't think he has. Anyways, that's about all I've got to say. And actually, as far as a rating for tonight's show, I thought Raw tonight was a solid show. It was a good show. I'd give it a 7.5 to 8 on 10, around that range. So, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, you can click that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And I'm out. See you guys.